Welcome to Successful Parenting, where we, Jackie Rue and Robin Choquette, share practical skills for families to build resilience and healthy connections. As practicing professionals and parents ourselves, we hope this podcast is a resource for parents to grow, reflect, and learn more about themselves and their children. Our approach is simple, tangible, and most importantly, we lead with compassion for the integrity of the families we serve. This podcast should not be taken as medical advice and is intended for informational purposes only. We love our work, and we can't wait to watch families gain confidence and open themselves up to new ways of successful parenting.
Hello, Robin.
Hey, Jackie. What's been happening this week for you?
You know what? I am excited because summer is starting out by us. Most of the schools ended this week, some last week, and some even the week before. So I have seen lots of children in my neighborhood outside playing and lots of kids in the park behind my house. And it's definitely fun that summer is here. I got to swim in a lake this morning already with a group of swimmers. And so there's something different when the start of summer approaches. What do you typically love about the start of summer?
Oh, I'm just outside. I mean, summer is my favorite. I'm instantly outside. I spend a lot of time out on the deck, out in the yard, going out and doing things. It is my time of year. And I always know that I've had a great summer is when I'm looking forward to fall. Like by September, I'm ready for fall. That tells me I've had a great summer. When I want summer to continue, I know I haven't lived my fullest summer out. And so that's how I always judge it. Like going into August, is there anything I really want to do? Is there anything I'm missing out on? I try to squeeze as much as possible. I just love the summertime.
Well, and I think for a lot of families, they're able to spend more time together in the summer. They're able to just relax a little bit more. I've had many families I've worked with that really struggled with school this year from just different aspects, and just taking a breather and school being over and having a little bit of break can be really just a chance to kind of pause and reset. There are some children, I think, that while they love that first week, tend to do better with a little bit of routine. And so I always laugh with parents, although it's amazing, some parents even become anxious. Like, what am I going to do to keep these children busy all summer?
Right. And, I think it's a balance, right? Because we need them to learn how to be bored, how to be creative. I mean, that's when those things happen. How do they start to kind of internally find things to do versus having something always to do? I was talking to a young boy who's 12 going on 13, and we were talking about creating some structure. And it was interesting because he said, I don't like a day that's really structured, because we were talking about creating a calendar. Because he said, when I look at all of that, I feel like I've got so much to do. I'm so overwhelmed, and I just kind of shut down and get frustrated. So we were talking about a different way to structure his summertime that doesn't feel like that, where he would have his things to do. But if we gave him a list, and I was talking to the parents, if we gave him a list, he just shuts down. And so I think it's interesting, as you said, we all work better in structure. I think this is absolutely true. But how do we go about creating that? And it has to be, for each child is different. One child would want the list. Another child, a full list might be too much.
Well, definitely. And I think, today just talking a little bit about, helping build that routine, but also opportunities to help our children develop more confidence, even more social skills this summer. So when they do return to school, they're feeling more, both physically and emotionally healthy. We saw so many, families report this past year that their children struggled just connecting socially. Maybe we're on electronics too much. Maybe we're struggling with problem solving and skills like that. And so I want to talk a little bit about just some ways that we can build that routine while helping our children really grow and really be ready to thrive when school does return in August.
Right. And I hate to keep bringing it up, but post-pandemic, we're back to where we were before. And I think helping kids to kind of gain and work on some of those skills that we would typically work on in the summer. I think that's really important. And for a lot of kids, I think it can be a lonely time. For some kids, it can be a time that they don't have food to eat because they have lunch from school. So I think there's a lot of different things that we have to think about. And for each family out there to be thinking what really serves them and what's helpful for them each and every day is so important.
Right. Oh, absolutely.
We can come up with some things, but what we're saying is think about your own family and what you're trying to accomplish. As you said, Jackie, if I'm really wanting to work on my child's confidence this summer, what are some of the things that we can implement? Come up with a goal for that, and how would that look for your family?
Well, I think for many of us that are parents now, I think it's hard to even comprehend, because I've heard many parents say this, and this is true for me when I was a child and it was nice out. Parents kind of pushed us outside and said, go figure it out, play with neighbors, but you're not coming in till after dinner, right? They kept us outside, and it was an opportunity where all the neighborhood kids came out, they played with each other, and then, you didn't want to go inside until it was dark. And so many kids are, kind of glued to tech. They're inside, they're not wanting to go outside. And so I know families have asked, how do we do that? And so just some ideas around that is starting to lay out what you want summer to look like for your family. What is it that you want, your child to really kind of do this summer in terms of activities and growth. And sometimes with kids, of all ages, it's hard to shift from school to a different kind of routine. Mm-hmm. And so the earlier I think you can start that, even if it's, small things like, having a calendar of plotting out some things, whether it's, Wednesday night, we're going to go listen to music in the park, or Thursday nights is going to be pizza night. Just having a little bit of an outline of, some fun things that are going to happen, that can even in itself help build some routine, and intentionally choosing activities where your child can connect more to other children their age, can be physically active. Because that's something we've noticed too, is a lot of children are not as physically active as we would like. Mm-hmm. So building in that physical, the social, and even ways for them to have to challenge some of those things that maybe make them uncomfortable, going to a new situation, being somewhere that they might be uneasy, trying a new sport, trying a new activity, even though they might be apprehensive. Working through some of that this summer is going to make all the difference when they go back to school in the fall.
Right. Jackie and our listeners, what we're really talking about goes back to that pyramid we conceptualize in parenting is, first, where are we and what am I trying to accomplish? If I'm trying to accomplish a child to be more physically active, or I feel like I want my child to gain confidence, then we're starting to implement and putting some things throughout the summer in there to help us to be able to get those opportunities, right? And more that we create those opportunities and have some expectation with some structure around there, we know that we're going to be able to hit it versus I'm going to try this summer without some kind of plan. I think it makes it hard. But summers can be kind of crazy, but they can also be a lot of fun. And, memories I have from my childhood. Can you share a memory from your childhood? I can't wait to hear, because I think our growing up was so different. I was in the country.
I think my biggest memories were just going on bike rides with friends and exploring and wanting to go to new places and just be outside. I don't ever remember a time when it was nice out that I wanted to be inside watching TV. Most people know I'm pretty active and I like the water and I like just being out and doing things. And that was kind of something I look forward to, is just swimming and biking and, running around with friends. Those were, some of the things, even meeting new people, going places and seeing other kids and talking to them. And that's kind of what I remember summer to be. And so I don't know if I was a child today, if I would be different, because I'm just so glued to the outdoors. But I do relate to so many families that, and I can't tell you how many calls I get that they can't get their children outside.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. It was totally different for me, but we were always outside. Our neighbor was probably a mile away at least, and you would have to walk some, and it was one of my best friends, and we're still friends today, but it was a different kind of growing up. But with my siblings, we were always outside. Like you said, Jackie, always out there playing, always doing something, and we had to be so creative. But we did have some structure growing up because we had a large garden. We had lots of fruit trees. My dad had a lot of grapevines. I mean, it was most summers we would wake up really early. My mom said was so you wouldn't be so hot. I don't know, but we would be picking blackberries at 7 a.m. in the morning, and you would get those chores done super early in the morning, and then we just played all day until late at night. And that was kind of my summer. And I think it's interesting because kids aren't out as much as you said, they get really distracted by tech. I think it's us being creative and helping them to get outside. If you get kids interested in it, they'll usually start to go back to it. The other thing I ask the child that I'm working with is, how many hours do you think is really realistic and appropriate for your age to be on tech? And if you ask them that question, most of them have a fairly realistic amount of time. And then we start to work on their schedule based on that amount of time that's really appropriate given everything else that they want to do for the day.
Well, and 100%. And I had one family that actually, they did a reset the week school got out and they had no electronics for a week. It actually worked, and the child had to figure out new things to do. And although it caused a lot of havoc the first couple of days, the child ended up doing things differently, went outside and because the child got bored, right? And so I think sometimes building a new routine is going to take a pivot. I also think we can model, right? If we're out there walking, out there playing, out there excited about, I can't wait till, after dinner we get to do this. Even if the kids are like, when you start showing the excitement and modeling, it really makes a difference. And our children want to connect with us and they want to spend more time with us, even if it doesn't always seem that way. So I think being creative, I had one family that they put a challenge. Everyone got to put in a jar all the things that they would be willing to do or wanting to do over the summer. And again, depending on age, collecting fireflies, going on a scavenger hunt, making a project, having a lemonade stand. I can't tell you how many lemonade stands I had with my kids or I had as a child. Silly things, but even a lemonade stand, you joke. It teaches problem solving. It teaches having to communicate. It teaches any kind of small business, starting outdoor movies. I've seen a lot of families putting up screens in the backyard. These are all things that kids remember and just starts to really get their imagination going about, gosh, I could have a camp out in my backyard. These are all the things I can do. And you really start opening up some new brainwaves and some new lines of thought.
Right. My grandson, we keep all of our cardboard boxes because he makes games out of them. And he has like a arcade that he opens up in the summer and all the kids come over and play all these games. And the neighborhood kids now are coming and helps him to create some of the new boxes. But you think about everything he's using to create that. And those kids are getting together. As you said, they're problem solving. How do they have people to come in? They have tickets that they give out and they have a ton of fun all summer just doing this and creating different things. Kind of asking your child and exposing them to some different things that they can be creative and do. It doesn't have to be these huge, expensive, day trips every week. We can do things just that is in our backyard or in our neighborhood, going hikes. I think that can be something as well that they can enjoy, building fires and having campfires at night. We had one the other night where we had a package that we threw in and it had all these different colors and the kids absolutely loved it. Outdoor picnics. Jackie, I do the flowers, but I also have the birds and the kids love to watch the birds come and see what kind of birds that are there, from cardinals to whatever, the different colors. So I think there's a lot of things that we can do for kids to help them and rejuvenate that creativity, but also be in somewhat of a structured environment.
Well, absolutely. And summer's not going to be without difficulties too. Kids get hurt. Kids have a hard time with friends. Kids can be mean. But these are also opportunities for kids to bounce back. Obviously, we don't want kids to get hurt, but, with summer comes sometimes all of the above. And so I think, just even teaching our children how to navigate, teaching them, boundaries and safety, reminding them of expectations. If you have a teenager, even a middle schooler, sometimes you really have to kind of explain the parameters, explain the boundaries. A lot more unstructured time sometimes comes opportunities for children to make decisions that aren't so always positive. Reminding them of the expectations of just safety can be key too, because I think we have to remember that that's going to be important too. And we want our children to be, healthy over the summer. And so if there are especially children that, you're concerned about or that really struggle, being mindful of how to incorporate some of these things and spending more time, because the more children struggle, the more they need a connection with us. And I think the more time we can spend with them, the better they're going to be throughout the summer and also as summer, ends.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think about those highly impulsive kids, those kids that can just come up with something and not always think it through. And there's where, if we're connected, we can help guide them to think about what they're really wanting to accomplish, and does that help them? And so I think it's interesting of walking that line of being connected with them, but not totally handling their summers. And so it's not easy. It's certainly not easy, but I think families are out there trying, and we really appreciate all the things that our listeners are trying to do and how they're trying to be more in line to what's important for them. And I just have to say kudos to the families.
Absolutely. Just as a reminder, as we close out here, for children that really have struggled this past year, making sure that continuing to get them connected and continuing to work on practicing those things they struggled with. And there's lots of ways to do that. One of them was actually decorating rocks and happiness rocks and putting them all over different people's houses in the neighborhood. When a family would come out of the house, they would see this little happiness rock, which was painted. One girl put, "You are enough," or "We love you," just cute little smiley faces. And there was one house, there was an older woman. She was living by herself, and she walked out of the house, and one of the kids that had made the rock for her was like kind of waiting for her to see the rock, and she lived nearby. This lady was so overjoyed by seeing this rock in her little flower garden. It was so cool. And it taught the child too, just the power of connecting with others and being that caring, encouraging voice.
Right. And if we're wanting to build that confidence, helping them create some things that they think they can do and then help guide them, I think is so helpful. In the summer, there's so many opportunities. Absolutely. Well, Jackie, let's talk a little bit about what we're asking of our listeners. We would love to hear from you. We would love for you to send in to us things such as, what does successful parenting mean to you? Or if you have a question, please send it in and let us know what you want us to talk about, or if you have a particular question, we will share those. If you want to do a recording, you can certainly do a recording and share it to us. And then the other part is, what does successful parenting mean to you? We would love to hear from you. This August, we will be closing in on 1 year of recording, and we're super excited and would love to start to hear from some of our listeners.
Yes, we hope to hear. And if you have any, as always, if you have any questions or feedback, please let us know.
And you can find all of our contact information in the description of the podcast. Come on to our website and let us know. Thanks, everyone. We hope you have a great day.
Thanks, Robin. I will see you later.
Bye, Jackie.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us, and make sure to subscribe and like us to catch our next episode, where we will take you on a journey to find new ways of successful parenting.